Every single day, a dedicated crew heads out to the ocean to do their usual job. But one day, a mysterious blue light glows from beneath the water, and massive explosions rock the sea. Soon after, terrified people are abandoning the cities, running for their lives, because they've just witnessed something unimaginable. But stick around until the end, because a miracle happens that leaves everyone in complete disbelief, ending in a powerful salute of respect. If you want to know exactly what goes down, you need to watch this recap right to the very end. The movie opens on Odo Island, where a fighter plane makes a sudden landing. The year is 1945, right in the final days of World War II. The mechanics on the island check the plane, and they find absolutely nothing wrong with it. William, the lead mechanic, tells the pilot James that the plane is perfectly fine. But James gets defensive, insisting there's a problem. Right away, we realize the truth. James is terrified of fighting in the war, and he faked the malfunction just to escape it. One of the mechanics tries to comfort him, telling him it's okay. But then, James looks out at the ocean and sees dead deep-sea fish floating on the surface. Later that night, emergency sirens start blaring. Everyone rushes out to see a massive, terrifying monster. One of the mechanics remembers an old legend saying that when deep-sea fish float to the surface, it means Godzilla is coming. And sure enough, it is. Everyone, including James, scatters and hides in pure terror. William tells James to run to his plane and use its heavy machine gun to kill the monster. Since James is the only one who knows how to operate it, it's all up to him. James slowly sneaks into the cockpit, but when he sees Godzilla up close, he freezes. The fear is just too much, and he can't pull the trigger. Seeing James freeze, the mechanics panic and start shooting with their rifles. This just makes Godzilla angry, and it brutally kills them, one by one. William watches in absolute horror. Finally, James snaps out of it, but it's too late. Godzilla destroys the plane, and James is knocked unconscious. When he finally wakes up, he finds that almost everyone is dead. William, who managed to survive, furiously blames James. He tells him that if he had just fired the gun, the men wouldn't have panicked and they'd still be alive. Later, a rescue ship arrives to take the survivors home, and William coldly hands James a stack of photos, pictures of the dead mechanics' families. The next day, James returns home to Tokyo, Japan, but the city is completely destroyed from the bombings. His neighbor Mary sees him and asks how he made it back alive. When she realizes he abandoned his post, she is furious. James asks about his parents, and she coldly tells him that they, along with everyone else, died in the air raids. Heartbroken, James pulls out a letter his parents had written to him. They had begged him to come back alive, which is the whole reason he ran away in the first place. One day, James sees a girl running frantically through the crowded market. She shoves a baby into his arms and takes off. James waits around for a long time, hoping she'll come back, because he doesn't have the heart to abandon the child. Eventually, the girl returns. Her name is Sarah. She explains that she couldn't get back through the crowd. She realizes James is a good person because he didn't leave the baby, so she follows him all the way to his ruined home to feed the child. When James asks where her husband is, she reveals she isn't married. The baby, named Akiko, isn't even hers. A dying mother handed the baby to her during the bombings, and Sarah just couldn't leave her behind. James scolds her, asking how she expects to raise a child when she can barely feed herself. But deep down, he knows they are exactly alike. Neither of them could bring themselves to abandon the baby. They talk late into the night and eventually fall asleep. The next morning, Mary comes over and starts yelling at him again, calling him a bleeding heart for taking in a stray girl and a baby. But when she gets a closer look at the hungry child, her heart softens. She hands over some of her own rice, leaving James and Sarah incredibly grateful.
3 months pass. One day, James comes home and announces he got a job paying $1,800 a month, which is a massive amount of money. Sarah immediately asks what the job is. He tells her it's a job cutting and detonating sea mines left over from World War II. Sarah begs him not to do it, saying it's too dangerous. But James explains they have no other choice. If they want to raise Akiko, he has to take the risk. The next day, James arrives for work and sees they are using an old beat-up wooden boat. His crewmates are David, Tom, and Silver. Silver, who is actually a brilliant scientist, explains that if they used a metal ship, the magnetic sea mines would instantly blow them up. They get out on the water, cut a mine loose, and wait for it to float up. David tries to shoot it to detonate it, but he struggles. James grabs the gun and shoots it perfectly on the first try. Later, as they talk, David casually mentions how the war ended quickly. James gets instantly furious, warning him never to say that again. That night, James is woken up by the terrifying sound of Godzilla. It's just a nightmare. but Sarah knows he has them constantly. James is completely traumatized, continually looking at the photos of the dead mechanics' families. Meanwhile, a nuclear test takes place in the ocean, and the radiation awakens and mutates Godzilla. Years pass, and little Akiko grows up. James, Sarah, and Akiko are living together like a real family, and they've even built a nice house. One night, James invites his crewmates over for dinner. They are shocked to find out that James and Sarah aren't actually married, and the baby isn't theirs. They tell James to marry her, but he insists he isn't ready. Not long after, Sarah comes home wearing a uniform. She got a job in the city. She wants to be independent, feeling that if she stays too close, James will never move on and get married. She asks Mary to watch Akiko while she works, which leaves James feeling pretty sad. Meanwhile, the American military discovers a massive creature in the ocean, heading straight for Japan. It's May 5th, 1947. James and his crew are out on the water when they stumble upon a massive American warship, completely destroyed. No one understands what could have done this except Silver. He explains that a giant creature is responsible, and the Japanese government secretly sent their wooden boat out here to try and stop it. Just then, James looks down and sees dead deep-sea fish floating on the surface. Panic sets in. He warns the crew that a giant monster is about to attack. David and Tom don't believe him, but Silver reveals he already knew. The government ordered them to stall the creature using the sea mines until a heavy cruiser can arrive. Suddenly, the water splits open and Godzilla rises up. The crew is absolutely terrified. They start the boat and run for their lives, but Godzilla chases right after them. They drop a mine into the water, wait for Godzilla to grab it and detonate it, but it doesn't do a thing. It just makes the monster angry. James's hands are shaking, but he keeps his weapon ready. They drop a second mine, and it lands right in Godzilla's mouth. But when they try to detonate it, the wire snaps. Without hesitating, James shoots the mine with a machine gun, blowing up a huge chunk of Godzilla's face. But to their absolute horror, Godzilla's flesh bubbles and heals within seconds. The monster is furious now. Just as it's about to crush them, the heavy cruiser arrives and opens fire. Godzilla completely ignores the small wooden boat, charges the cruiser, and destroys it in seconds. As it sinks beneath the waves, a glowing blue light charges up in the water, followed by a massive atomic blast. Godzilla's body was heavily damaged by using the atomic breath, so it retreats, leaving James and his crew alive. James is hospitalized with a head injury. He asks what happened to Godzilla, and the doctors say the government is covering it up to prevent mass panic. When James goes home, Sarah begs him to tell her what happened out there. She asks him to share his pain so he doesn't have to carry it alone. Finally, James breaks down. He confesses that he ran away from the war, and because he was too scared to shoot, all those mechanics died on Odo Island. And now, he faced the monster again, and still couldn't do anything. He feels like a complete failure. Sarah holds him, telling him that anyone would have been terrified, and it wasn't his fault. The next morning, James wakes up, looks at Sarah and Akiko, and finally decides he is going to marry her. But out in the ocean, a patrol spots Godzilla. It's heading straight for Tokyo. The government finally issues emergency broadcasts, telling everyone to evacuate immediately. Sarah is on a train heading to work when suddenly, the train in front of them is violently thrown off the tracks. It's Godzilla. The monster begins tearing through the city, destroying everything in its path. It grabs Sarah's train, dangling it in the air. Sarah barely manages to survive by falling out of the train car and plummeting into the water below. James rushes into the city to find her. The military launches a full-scale attack on Godzilla, but this only enrages the beast. Its dorsal fins pop out, glowing a bright radioactive blue. It unleashes a devastating atomic breath, causing a massive nuclear-style explosion. As the blinding shockwave rips through the streets, Sarah spots James. She forcefully shoves him into a safe alleyway, just as the blast wave hits. James is safe, but when the dust settles, the entire city is leveled and Sarah is gone. Staring at the mushroom cloud, James screams in absolute agony. Later, they hold a funeral for Sarah. Akiko doesn't understand what's happening, crying and asking for her mother. James is completely shattered. Silver approaches James and says the government has put him in charge of a plan to kill Godzilla. They gather all the ex-military men, including James and his crew. A general explains that the military is gone and they only have 4 unarmed ships left to fight the monster. Silver steps up and reveals his crazy plan. Weapons don't work because Godzilla heals instantly, so they have to use science. He explains that Godzilla is highly buoyant, They are going to wrap Godzilla in a cable lined with Freon gas cylinders. When the gas is released, the bubbles will destroy the water's density, causing Godzilla to sink rapidly into the Sagami Trench, which is 1,500 feet deep. The extreme water pressure will crush the monster. But if Godzilla survives the pressure, they have a backup plan. They've attached massive inflatable balloons to the cables. If Godzilla doesn't die at the bottom, they will inflate the balloons, rocketing Godzilla to the surface so fast that the explosive decompression will kill it. The general admits this is a suicide mission, and anyone who wants to leave can. Several men walk away to protect their families, but the rest, including James's crew, stay to fight for their country. After the meeting, James pulls Silver aside. He demands a fighter plane. If Godzilla attacks land again, he wants to personally lure it out to the trench. But really, James just wants revenge. Silver takes him to a secret hangar and shows him a highly advanced experimental fighter plane from the war. But it's broken, and no regular mechanic can fix it. James knows exactly who to call. He tracks down William, the lead mechanic from Odo Island, who has been sending him those angry letters. James begs William to fix the plane. William refuses until James tells him that this is their only chance to kill Godzilla and avenge their fallen friends. William finally agrees. The next day, William and his team repair the plane. Meanwhile, the crew gets a location on Godzilla. It will reach Tokyo by morning. The engineers building the Freon tanks volunteer to fight too, but Silver assures them he designed this plan to make sure everyone makes it back alive. Little Tom is told he has to stay behind because he's too young, which breaks his heart. Before leaving, James leaves an envelope of cash with Mary, just in case he doesn't return to care for Akiko. He goes to the hangar and finally apologizes to William for what happened on the island. William sees that James kept the photos of the dead men, and James shows him a drawing Akiko made, saying he has to live for his daughter. The next morning, Godzilla makes landfall. James swoops in with his fighter plane, shooting at the monster and luring it out into the ocean. The ships are waiting. They drop the Freon gas cables, successfully wrapping them around Godzilla. Godzilla charges its atomic breath, but just before it fires, they trigger the gas. Godzilla plunges down 1,500 feet into the pitch-black trench, but the trackers show it's still alive. They trigger the backup plan, inflating the balloons. Godzilla starts shooting to the surface, its body tearing apart from the decompression. But then, the monster bites through the balloons, stopping its ascent halfway. With no other choice, the two ships try to manually pull Godzilla up with cables, but the winches start breaking. All hope seems lost, until suddenly, Tom arrives with a massive fleet of civilian tugboats. Everyone cheers as the entire fleet works together, pulling Godzilla the rest of the way to the surface. Godzilla breaks the surface, severely damaged but still alive. It begins to charge its atomic breath one last time, preparing to wipe them all out. The men accept their fate. But suddenly, James dives his fighter plane out of the sky, crashing it directly into Godzilla's open mouth. The plane's payload detonates inside, blowing Godzilla's head apart. The atomic energy backfires, completely destroying Godzilla's body. Everyone cheers, but they realize James sacrificed himself. Just then, they spot a parachute in the sky. William had secretly installed an ejector seat in the plane. James survived. The crew salutes him in pure respect. Back on land, Mary hands James a telegram. He rushes to the hospital and finds Sarah. She survived the blast. They tearfully embrace, finally reunited. But as the camera pans down, we see a strange black pulsing mark creeping up Sarah's neck. And if that wasn't crazy enough, down in the depths of the ocean, a chunk of Godzilla's flesh begins to bubble and regenerate. Godzilla isn't dead. And that is where the movie ends. I know exactly what that black mark on Sarah's neck is, but with part 2 coming eventually, we'll keep that a secret for now. Drop a comment below, leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next amazing recap. Until then, stay tuned.